Well, well, well. So we find ourselves back in New York. Remember when I said that the governor and the unions can threaten this and can threaten that and they can do whatever, they can say whatever they want to say, but the Constitution gives you the right to redress your grievances with government. And the union kept saying they don't have permission to strike. And then the governor went out and said, the union said that you don't have permission to strike. And they said, oh yeah, hold my beer. So they kept saying, well, you have till Wednesday, you have till Thursday, you have till Friday, you have till Monday, you have till Tuesday. And here we still are again, March 7th, 2025. So what's going on in New York now? Well, I'm not going to pay for this, so let's go to reader mode. Governor's office reviewing new agreement to end prison strike. So all the other ones haven't worked thus far. Albany. The chaos engulfing an ongoing prison strike continued Friday as many correction officers declined to return to work at more than 20 correctional facilities after their union rejected an agreement that Governor Kathy Hochul's administration had negotiated directly with the disgruntled workers. A new agreement, one worked out among the administration, the union, and the remaining strikers, was being viewed by Hochul's office on Friday evening. The governor's office had thought the strike, which entered its 19th day on Friday, would finally end after striking officers across the state informally voted early Thursday to support the offer. But wait, there's more. But late Thursday, the leaders of the New York State Correctional Officers and Police Benevolent Association asserted that they had been unlawfully left out of the negotiations and refused to sign the agreement despite intense pressure from the governor and the state corrections commissioner. So the left hand don't know what the right hand's doing. Nobody's surprised about that. You may be hearing right now that New York Corrections and Police Benevolent Association is failing you or turning its back on the members, the union leaders wrote in a memo distributed to its roughly 14,000 members Thursday night. Do not mistake our intentions or motivation. We want to reach an agreement that gets our members back to work as soon as possible, but we cannot allow our desire for a quick result to jeopardize the ability to obtain a fair agreement that adequately safeguards our members' health and physical well-being to ensure their ability to reclaim a work-life balance in the immediate future. Alrighty. The memo also asserted that Corrections Commissioner Daniel F. Marticello III and Hochul had tried to bully us into signing this agreement by threatening to pin the agreement's downfall on the union. Pointing fingers. Government's good at that. We will not stand for this misinformation, the labor leaders wrote. To be clear, we asked for a reasonable amount of time to review and digest the agreement. We wanted the opportunity to meet with the DOCCS and the governor's office to discuss their changes to the agreement, to assure it still meets the standards that you expect of us, and to make sure it is as legally enforceable as possible. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. The situation boiled over late Thursday when Hochul and Corrections Union President Chris Summers had a heated telephone conversation in which the governor used explicitives, according to two people briefed on the call. After the exchange, Marticello drove to the union's headquarters, confronted Summers, and tried to convince him to sign the agreement. Marticello left without success. The union told its members it would take legal action to prevent the cancellation of workers' health insurance and to block Marticello from negotiating directly with its members. It planned to challenge orders that required corrections to return to work despite being on pre-approved leave and to finalize a template terminating terminated officers can use to file grievances. Yes, because remember they said that they were going to take their pay away and they were going to cancel their insurance and the pay that they had already accrued thus far. They were going to take that. They were going to take their insurance and their children's insurance. They can't actually do that. I told you that. Thousands of striking New York corrections officers voted Thursday on the new informal contract offer, which included the creation of a committee to determine whether certain provisions of a law that regulates solitary confinement could be adjusted. Two people close to the negotiations told the Times-Union early Thursday afternoon that the deal was imminent and thousands of officers were expected to return to work as early as Friday morning, but that hope diminished by Thursday evening when the union leaders declined to sign the agreement. New York Corrections Police, whatever, was not appropriately engaged in the development of the currently circulating agreement. The agreement was not negotiated with them, the legally recognized entity through which all negotiations must be conducted, the union said in a Thursday statement. There are substantial legal issues that must be addressed, and at this time, they will not be signing this agreement. A correction officer at a Western New York prison told the Times-Union early Friday that officers there had on Thursday evening taken down the tents used during the strike, but then overnight started putting them back up as news spread that the union had declined the agreement and officers were informally told to hold the line. See, now they're like, hey, we're on your side now. We're on each other's side, so now I want you to stay there and hold the line. See how it's working? In a video briefing Thursday evening, Marticello said the union's leadership was failing its members and pledged to provide the agreement directly to the workforce. He was joined by Commissioner Jackie Bray of the State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, who emphasized that the latest offer was the final one before the state moved forward with a wave of formal termination notices for officers who remained on strike. Seems like we heard that last week, and I don't know, 6 or 8 days before that. Bray said those who remain off the job would face criminal contempt charges. The state on Thursday turned over the names of about 1,000 officers to the state attorney general's office for prompt contempt charges, adding to just over 300 names previously identified. The strike has crippled operations at many state prisons and required more than 6,500 New York National Guard troops to be deployed to assist with security. Many of the striking officers have lost faith in their union, whose leaders had last month, prior to the start of the Wildcat labor action, prevented a strike vote at an executive board meeting. But less than 2 weeks later, on February 17th, officers at 2 prisons in western and southern New York went on strike anyway, and within a day, the actions had spread to more than 30 prisons. Yes, that kind of information spreads like wildfire. Striking corrections officers at Clinton Correctional Facility, a maximum security prison in Dannemora, voted Thursday morning on the latest offer by breaking into 2 groups outside the prison, those for and those against it. According to a person who was present, the striking workers agreed to return to duty on Friday if the offer was accepted and signed by Marticello. The agreement includes pay increases, limits on mandatory overtime, and an assurance that officers who have been on strike will be able to return to their jobs without facing discipline. Many of those provisions were included in the formal deal negotiated last week by a mediator but rejected by thousands of officers. Yeah, we read that. There was some shady shit in there. There was a lot of temporary this and temporary that and maybe this and maybe that. No, they want it ironclad in writing. That's what they want. One of the top concerns of the prison officers has been their perceived inability to adequately discipline inmates who engage in violence, including assaults on staff or other prisoners. They are seeking a return of a keep lock provision that would not segregate inmates in special housing units but would enable them to be kept in their cells or cubes, dormitory living areas, for those not in the know, as a form of discipline. The process would still grant the inmates limited freedom, according to corrections officers, while providing a form of discipline that might prevent bad behavior and encourage someone to comply in order to have all privileges restored. Makes sense. The inmates would still be allowed to have tablet devices, attend meals if they are not in a maximum security facility, and be outside in a segregated area for at least an hour a day. Sounds reasonable. We find ourselves very frustrated as a group of security staff, said a corrections officer who works at a central New York prison and spoke on condition of anonymity. What do you do when you have someone that really does not want to conform, and that can be up to and including serious assault? The proposed committee that would review the solitary confinement law and other safety measures would include representatives of New York Corrections and Police, Council 82, the Public Employees Federation, the Civil Service Employees Association, and the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. Damn, can we get some longer names? There would also be representatives from the legislature, one Democrat and one Republican, from the Assembly and Senate. Monticello was at the Capitol on Thursday and visited the office of Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins. Source said he also contacted other legislative leaders. Being locked up and throwing away the key will make anyone go nuts, the officer from Central New York said. What our side is, when you and I offend our fellow citizens and commit a felony, we have to be removed from the general population of citizens. But in prison, they're all felons, so they need to be removed from that population. There's no other choice. It kind of leaves us in a bad position, because if you don't want to segregate these non-conforming inmates, what are you supposed to do as a deterrent? There is also a provision to revisit what constitutes an assault on staff members. A spokesman for HALT, Solidarity Campaign, an advocacy group that pushes for changes in the correctional system on behalf of prisoners, said that in the wake of 2 recent incidents in which inmates died after being beaten by corrections officers, it's unconscionable that DOCCS would even consider renegotiating its contract with New York Corrections and Police to give them greater power to torture people in their custody, as well as pay increases and amnesty for a work stoppage that has killed people. If the contract is to be reopened, it should be solely about increasing accountability for abusive guards, said Anna something somewhere alphabet, a spokesman for the group. Many state prisons are operating with roughly 20 to 25% of the normal level of staff, with officers working at least 12-hour shifts every day of the week. The agreement would keep those 12-hour shifts in place until normal operations resume, and then return to 8-hour shifts with regular days off when facilities are operating with adequate staffing levels. The officers are also seeking 3 grade pay increases. Corrections officers have acknowledged higher pay would help with hiring and retention of workers, but their pay rates are set by state civil service rules, and the Corrections Department countered that would be under the purview of that agency. The review process for pay increases, however, could be expedited. Could be. Will it? If they get them back in there beforehand, likely not. Any employees who were told their absences were considered a resignation or have been terminated will be allowed to return to full duty without discipline. Told you. You have the right by the Constitution to redress your grievance with your government. They are following that to a T, and government don't like it, but government ain't really got a leg to stand on. 7 inmates have died during the strike, including a 22-year-old man serving a 5-year sentence for weapons possession who died after he was subjected to physical force by members of a correctional emergency response team at Mid-State Correctional Facility in Oneida County on Saturday. His death is being treated as a homicide and is under investigation by state police. Haven't come across that one. I don't believe these next 2 that I'm about to mention I have done a video on. I'll look that one up and see what's up. The death of Messiah Nantwi prompted the second homicide investigation in less than 4 months, in which corrections officers are under scrutiny for their use of physical force involving the death of an inmate. On December 9th, 43-year-old Robert L. Brooks was beaten to death by corrections officers at Marcy Correctional Facility, which is next door to Mid-State in Oneida. And I'm waiting to see what's going to play out with those degenerates before I get into that next roll of videos, see where they're all going. 13 correctional officers are facing criminal charges in Brooks' death, including 6 who have been charged with murder, 3 charged with manslaughter, and 1 charged with tampering with evidence. Another 3 officers have agreed to plead guilty to reduce charges and cooperate in the investigation, according to Onondaga County District Attorney William J. Fitzpatrick, whose office is handling the homicide case as a special prosecutor. The State Attorney General's office is empowered under state law to investigate and, if warranted, prosecute criminal cases in which civilians died during encounters with law enforcement officers, including corrections officers. On Thursday afternoon, the Attorney General's office posted on its website its decision to ask a judge to appoint Fitzpatrick as a special prosecutor in the investigation of the death of Nantwi. A judge granted the request earlier in the day. Yada, yada, yada. Follow New York politics. Anyway, March 7th, 2025. Yes, and at this point, this was yesterday. So yeah, told you. They had no legs to stand on. They had 0 of them to stand on. and they're still trying, but they got to hold strong. And if this is really something that, and clearly it looks like it is something that these correctional officers are, it is my way or the highway, and they need to stand strong on that, because if they give in at this point, the next time it will be pointless. So that's where we're at with this one so far. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Also, again, 93% of people that watch these videos are not actually subscribed to this channel. Can you believe it? I know. I couldn't believe it either, because you're sitting right down at your computer and you have your phone in your hand and you're looking right at the screen right now, and all you gotta do is click the button, and I'll quit harassing you about it. Anyway, let me know what you think about this one, and I'm out.